Now there are so many different types of Mee Siam. You've got your wet, more soupy noodles, or your dry, more breakfast style noodles, and it's the rice vermicelli with that rempeh, the paste that brings in all the flavour. I'm Jeremy Pang from School of Wok in Covent Garden, and this is Wok Wednesday. Don't forget guys, if you reach 1,000 likes on this video and leave a comment, you'll be up for a chance to win one of our awesome School of Wok prizes. I'm going to start with the noodles. I've got some rice vermicelli and some hot water. I'm going to soak this rice vermicelli in that hot water for about 2 to 3 minutes. Just allow it to sort of lose its packet shape. You don't want it to be too soggy, so it will take in more moisture later on when it comes to the stir fry. So I'm going to take that out and then just allow that to dry again. Now I'll pop this onto a clean tea towel, just on a tray, so that it gets as dry as possible. So when it comes to stir frying, then it won't stick to the wok. Whilst the noodles are soaking, I'm going to get onto the rempeh, which is basically like the spice paste. Now this dry version of Mee Siam, you might sort of have a similarity to what in the Western world we call Singapore noodles, but it's not the same because Singapore noodles tends to use sort of a curry powder to sort of cook into and stir fry into the noodles. This is all about this base paste. So you want to roughly chop your garlic and pop it into a pestle and mortar, and I'm going to get it into really nice smooth paste. Next up, your Thai shallots. They've been soaking in that hot water, so once you've sliced the ends off, you should be able to peel those shallots much easier, like so. We're just chopping this all up to go into the pestle and mortar, so it's easier when it's in the pestle and mortar to grind down to a smooth paste. You could use a food processor for this part. Oh, these are strong shallots. Some tearful, roughly chopped shallots. I've got my dry red chilies that I've soaked in hot water, and I like it spicy, but also the chilies add a lot of colour. So you can't skimp on your chilies for this rempeh, make sure you're nice and generous. Finely chopped dried chilies. We're going to start to layer the flavour into this paste now. I've got some belacan or dried shrimp paste, which is really strong and pungent. I wouldn't take a big whiff of that, I just did. Don't do that. It's very strong. Next up, really quite sort of specialist ingredient in this is a fermented soya bean paste, and this will add a really sort of deep, salty, savoury flavour to the dish. You could leave that to the actual cooking process, but I quite like to sort of pound it into the paste. So I'm going to start pounding first and bring that all together before I add more flavour. Now I'm going to add a bit of sweet and sour flavour to this, and I've got some tamarind concentrate, not too much, about a tablespoon, and then to balance that out, some sugar, and then for colour, a couple of teaspoons of tomato paste. Give that a good mix through, and that colour will really sort of seep into the noodles. Your paste should look kind of like a chili bean paste. That sort of coarse but sort of well combined and no sort of bits of onion. Now the last thing I've got to prepare is just my eggs, and I'm going to cook kind of like a wok fried omelette that I'll shred to go on the side. In Mee Siam, as I said at the beginning, there's so many different types, and you might have your sort of breakfast, brunch, lunch, dinner style. A pinch of salt, and in most sort of Malaysian street food stores, you have a choice of what you want on top, so whole prawns or a bit of pork or chicken, whatever you want really. I'm keeping this really, really simple, just to keep it a little bit lighter, more breakfast style. I'm going to cook the egg first, and it's going to be a sort of wok fried omelette that will then sort of shred and finely slice up. You need a good amount of oil, and just swirl that around the edges, because I want to be able to sort of swirl the egg around so that it's not too thick an omelette. And what you want to do is you want to start your wok on a high heat, but then turn it down to low just before you're ready to cook. Then you want to pour your egg straight into the centre of your wok. Let that bubble up a little bit, and then swirl that around Just keeping hold of the egg so you can get that sort of thinner omelette. And then at this point, turn the heat up again to medium heat. That looks beautiful. So it's a gentle omelette cooking process in the wok for once. Probably you guys are not so used to me being so gentle in the wok. But you know, I'm feeling calm and collected today. So you've got a nice brown side of your egg. Flip it over. And brown the other side. That can come straight out onto your board to chop. And then pop that onto your plate, ready for your noodles to go on the top. Time to finish off your noodles, and we're going to start by frying off your dried shrimp, which is soaked in hot water. A little bit of oil, baste that round, and then good handful of your dried shrimp. And that should really flavour that oil. For me, and Mee Siam, I prefer sort of this breakfast style where there's not too many ingredients in the actual noodles. There's nothing blocking those simple flavours. You want to cook these through so you should smell the sort of aroma of those shrimp frying through and crisping up. And then I'm going to get ready for my paste. I quite like to be generous with this paste. You want that colour to really sift through the noodles well. That chilli will start hitting the bottom of that hot wok. Just go careful, take a deep breath. No, I'm fine really. Right, so keep frying that paste through. Cook those raw spices out. When my noodles go in, I'm going to go quite vigorously with the sort of tummy and the head, round and round, back and forwards movement. That's round and round with my ladle, back and forwards with my wok. Next up, my noodles are going to go in, and they're nice and dry now, but they do feel like they're sort of clumped together a little. I may need a little bit of liquid, and this shrimp water is great for that because it's going to add flavour to this dish. And then, once that's in, it'll be much easier to separate out the noodles and get that paste running through the noodles. And now we're just trying to sort of dry the noodles out again. It smells absolutely brilliant. Really, really sort of deep, savoury, salty flavour coming off those dried prawns. And it's quite a workout for the morning. And we're going to garnish this just to make it feel a little bit healthier for a breakfast. A little squeeze of lime over the top, and that will accentuate the sour, that natural sour flavour from the tamarind. Chilies to work with all those dry chilies in the paste. My breakfast style dry Mee Siam. Just smells so Moorish. That squeeze of lime on top. It brings out the savoury flavour more. It's definitely one of those dishes that I'm not going to let the rest of the crew dig into. I'm having this for my breakfast. Don't know what you guys are having. That's delicious. Salty, a little bit sour from the tint of lime on top, but more importantly, that really great sort of shrimp oil that sort of flavours the whole dish along with that paste. Don't forget, guys, if you like this recipe, you want to learn more about Asian cuisine, like, comment, subscribe, ding, hit that notification bell, and we'll love you forever.